from our studios on Florida's Gulf Coast. This is Women of Grace Live. Join us today as we discuss issues important to your life and faith. Spiritual insight, compelling discussion, practical wisdom. Women of Grace for such a time as this. Now, here's Elena Rodriguez in for Johnnette Benkovic.
So good to have you here at the top of the hour on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Elena Rodriguez sitting in for Johnnette Benkovic and welcoming you to Women of Grace Live this hour. Johnnette says hello. Well, she types hello. She can't speak. She has a very severe case of the flu and she's asking for your prayers. She is keeping you, all her listeners, in her prayers as well. She's got a lot to offer up. No joke about that. And so she has no voice and she can't be on the show today with us, but she is spiritually, and that's why I say she typed greetings for you and was not able to vocalize them just yet, but we continue to pray for her recovery. And we are delighted to have our very own Women of Grace journalist and researcher, our dear sister in Christ, Sue Brinkman, joining us for the remainder of the hour. Sue, welcome again to Women of Grace.
Oh, I'm glad to be back. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's been a couple of weeks or more than that maybe, so we miss you and we're so glad that you are here. And we want to welcome all of our listeners across the United States and around the world here on EWTN Radio's Women of Grace. We are going to be informed this hour. Sue Brinkman has plenty of news stories to share with us, to report, to make us smarter, and also stories on which we can reflect. And we want to open up those lines, and our call screener, Matt Gubinski, is ready to take your calls at 1-800-585-9396. This hour with Sue Brinkman here on Women of Grace, we are going to be talking about the news stories of the week. There is one particular story we're going to be sharing with you, and it's a note an owner in a restaurant in Florida found from a diner about Christmas music. When you hear this, you won't be able to believe it. So we are here playing a firm stance for the defense of our faith and also being very well informed about what is going on in our world from the Catholic perspective and overall perspective, and how to do something about it and change the course of history. That's why we have Sue Brinkman, our staff researcher and journalist here at womenofgrace.com. And we are opening up our phone lines. They are ready. And you can be the first caller, 1-800-585-9396. That number again is 1-800-585-9396. And guess what? You can also chime in by texting your question. The number is 55000. So you text the letters EWTN to the number 55000, and then you wait for a response, and then you follow the instructions, which basically means you send your name and a quick, short questions. Be aware that data charges may apply when you send in these texts. And also you can chime into our YouTube chat. Our social media manager, Jeff Burson, and Michael McCall as well are handling that chat on YouTube. All you do is you go to youtube.com and you type in the search bar EWTN channel, and once you get there, you'll see the live events. Click on the live event for the Women of Grace radio show. So Sue, I am really very grateful to you for your good journalistic research that you present on womenofgrace.com, and I'm looking particularly at a story. At this time we are cautiously positive that we are going to be able to do something about the Health and Human Services mandate that is breathing down our throats and forcing us to disrespect our deeply held beliefs. And we see an opportunity with the transition in presidential power in the United States to be able to change that. But here is yet another surprise, and you have a story called Doomed HHS Rule Prohibits Defunding Planned Parenthood. What is this about?
This was a very, very desperate attempt, a very last-minute attempt by the current administration to try to stop what is inevitable, which is the defunding of Planned Parenthood. Mm-hmm. And what they've done is they've issued this new rule that's going to require states and local governments to distribute Title X funds. Now, these are for family planning. to all providers, regardless of whether or not they also perform abortions. Now, Title X money is doled out in grants to states and to NGOs. These are non-governmental organizations that distribute the money, among the healthcare providers in their areas. And the new rules say that they can't withhold money from any provider for any reason that is unrelated to their ability to provide those services. So, in other words, they have to continue to give this money to Planned Parenthood. Now, of course, there's all kinds of pro-life voices are now speaking out and saying, this is doomed, it's not going to stay. And it isn't, because we know that we have the new representative, Tom Price, is going to be taking over the HHS, and he is a stalwart defender of life, and he is going to overturn it. It's just that it's adding another wrinkle in there that we have to get over. What has to happen is you would have to repeal the rule, which would require a whole new rulemaking process, which could take a while, several months, or they could do it by a joint resolution of disapproval by the House and the Senate with concurrence by the new president, which, of course, is pretty easy to do in the situation that we have. Now, even the Planned Parenthood people know that this is a temporary fix. Cecile Richards issued a statement and said, this fight is not over. And I say, hey, Cecile, it's not a fight anymore. Just give it up. You're not going to get the funds anymore. There's nothing to fight for. At this point, they've already said, the Trump administration has already said that they're going to be doing this. But what they're calling on the president-elect to do is to get to work immediately to rescind the new rule, which everyone does expect them to get at very quickly. But it's doomed. The rule is essentially doomed. It's not going to last, not in the kind of pro-life makeup that we have now in our Congress. But I think what they're trying to do is just maybe give them a little extra time, Planned Parenthood, to make a little bit of extra money while they have an opportunity before, really their gravy train gets shut off. And that's, almost $500 million in taxpayer funds. That's about half of their annual revenue, which is 1.3 or 1.8 billion, somewhere in there. And that will cause serious hurting to that organization financially if they were to lose all of those funds, or even 80% of those funds, because there's already measures in Congress right now to define about 80% of their taxpayer funding. Even that would be very, very harmful to them, to their bottom line. So, and they get a lot of money from donations and from corporations, and we've just heard too that Macy's has decided they're not going to fund them anymore either. A lot of people are starting to drop this Planned Parenthood because of those videos that came out last year. Those videos, even though they tried to convince people that the videos that were made by the Center for Medical Progress that caught Planned Parenthood and other fetal tissue procurement actors trafficking in these body parts, fetal body parts, ever since that happened, even though they're trying to say, those videos were doctored, this, that, and the other thing, which of course they weren't, it still has had a very damaging effect on Planned Parenthood and on the way people see them. And you've had major organizations such as Coca-Cola, Ford, Xerox, AT&T, they've all stopped donating in the wake of those findings. They just don't want anything to do with this organization. So, we can only hope that that's another revenue stream for them. So that could be quite difficult. They're up against that defunding. They're up against the HHS moves to defund them when Price takes over. So they're in trouble, and for good reason. They are panicking. They're sending out panic emails left and right to people. Please donate to us. Please donate.
So they're trying to make up for what they're going to lose from taxpayer money revenue. They're going to make up. The way they're going to patch that is with donations, or is there any other indication that they're using any other kind of strategy to bring in the dollars that they're going to lose, or they're probably keeping that quite secret?
Yes,
I would assume.
I'm sorry to say one of their tactics is going to be to increase their abortions, because that's where they make their money, is on abortions. And unfortunately, that's probably what's going to happen there. They're going to really put a push out for that. We already know that from insiders at Planned Parenthood that they really stress the abortion, and they really want their clinics to push abortions because they are such a cash cow for them. So it's it's definitely something that they're going to, I'm sure, do to try to make up for all the money that they're going to lose. They're going to lose this probably, though, in drips and drabs. I don't think they're going to lose everything all at one time. Mm-hmm. They're probably going to lose some here, some there. There's different kind of measures that they can pass in Congress. They add on these amendments to different bills, and they slide it through that way, and they take this money away and then that money away. So, and they also want to codify the Hyde Amendment, and the Hyde Amendment is what prohibits the use of taxpayer funding to fund abortion. And once they do that, they close some more little loopholes that were being used. Once they codify that, so it's going to be very interesting for us. For the last 8 years, we've really been dealt one defeat after the other, mm-hmm. and we've had abortion rights and abortion providers just really having an open door policy at the highest levels of our government, mm-hmm. And that's all going to stop. It's all going to stop, and instead you're going to see now lawmakers fighting for life, mm-hmm. and they will be in the majority. So I'm thankful this year at Christmas. I pray daily and thank her. I thank Our Lady yes. of Guadalupe in particular, for looking out for this country and giving us a pro-life majority. Mm-hmm. And I'm praying that we will do good with that majority while we have it and really make a lot of things happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you have ever prayed for the future of this country, we thank you. We thank you very much for your prayers. And please continue to pray. You are listening to EWTN Radio's Women of Grace with our guest today, Sue Brinkman. And we want to share with you, we want to make sure that you are part of this program. So we are opening up our lines. They are open. 1-800-585-9396. That's 1-800-585-9396. If you have ever been doing sidewalk counseling or praying in front of a Planned Parenthood abortion facility, give us a call. And if you've seen anomalies there, give us a call and share those with us as well. Sue Brinkman is our staff researcher and journalist at womenofgrace.com, and she is sharing the news stories of the week with us. Also, in a moment here, we're going to be talking about a story that happened in a restaurant in Florida where there is the owner found a note about Christmas music that the restaurant was playing from a diner. And when you find out what that note says, you're going to be pretty outraged. More of Women of Grace here on EWTN Radio. Stay tuned.
The wisdom of Mother Angelica.
Advent is a preparation, isn't it? It's a preparation for Christmas. Do you realize how much work goes on to preparing for Christmas? You gotta get a tree, and then you gotta decorate it, and then most of the decorations from last year got dirty. Some of them broke, so you're running back and forth with new decorations. Then you got to buy presents for everybody. And then you're scratching your head wondering who you forgot. And then you got this big dinner. Then you're wondering who's going to come. Well, anyway, all of these things come in your mind. And there goes Christmas. All of these things are wonderful, and we should do them all, but not at the expense of saying to Jesus, I thank you for coming. Happy birthday.
For more information on Mother Angelica, visit Religious Catalog at EWTNRC.com.
December 15th. Saint Teresa of Avila said, "Observe that we gain more in a single day by trials which come to us from God and our neighbor than we would in 10 years by penances and other exercises which we take up of ourselves." Let us reflect. Today I will read Luke chapter 3. I will make a list of the trials endured by the Blessed Mother in this chapter of sacred Scripture. And I will ask myself how her example and the quotation of St. Teresa of Avila help me to see the great treasure hidden in the contradictions and sufferings of daily life.
If you'd like to receive a daily Grace Line by email, go to womenofgrace.com and click on the word Grace Line, and then check the box Receive Grace Lines. That's womenofgrace.com.
This is Al Kresta, host of Kresta in the Afternoon, with an Advent prayer for all of us. May we develop the gentle, pondering heart of Mary, who lived her pregnancy in silent, joyful expectation of the Nativity, when she would nurse the God-man at her breast and further ponder the lowliness of God's approach, the lowly manner of his arrival, and the lowly status of us, his intended audience.
This is Archbishop Charles J. Chaput.
This is Teresa Tomeo, host of Catholic Connection.
Hello, friends. This is Father Wade Menezes of the Fathers of Mercy for EWTN. A very blessed Advent and happy Advent from all of us here at the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
15 minutes past the hour. Elena Rodriguez here, sitting in for Johnnette Benkovic on Women of Grace with our guest today, Sue Brinkman, our staff researcher and journalist at womenofgrace.com. We're talking about the news stories of the week, and you're welcome to call in with questions or comments for Sue Brinkman. The number is 1-800-585-9396. You can also text in your question to the number 55000. Text the letters EWTN to 55000, and then you'll get a text back. Follow the instructions, and be aware that data charges may apply when you are sending in these text messages. You can also join our YouTube chat by going to youtube.com and then typing in the search bar EWTN channel, and then clicking on the live event. You'll be able to participate on Women of Grace through that chat that is managed by our dear fellow colleagues, Jeff Burson and Michael McCall. And Sue Brinkman, you are really going after all those stories that are almost found nowhere else. So tuning into this show really keeps me informed. I know that it keeps our listeners informed. And we have been talking about the HHS mandate and the defunding of Planned Parenthood. And now you have a story here on womenofgrace.com that says that abortion clinics are public health crisis.
Oh, yeah, this is such a disturbing report. It's called Unsafe, How the Public Health Crisis in America's Abortion Clinics Endanger Women. And it was produced by Americans United for Life, AUL, which is a really a leading legal pro-life group. They do excellent work, and they have put together a report. And I've actually been working on this subject, and I have had in the past some work that I did with the AOL on this subject for years now. But this latest report has found that 227 abortion providers in 32 states were cited for more than 1,400 health and safety deficiencies in an 8-year period. 1,400 of these deficiencies, and they are serious. Some of them, 130 clinics in 22 states, were found to have failed to ensure a safe and sanitary environment according to infection control policies. I mean, what? That's a basic failure to accurately document patient records and keep patient medical information confidential. That's 100 clinics were found guilty of that in 17 states. Failure to ensure that staff are properly trained for duties. 82 clinics in 14 states. Another 81 clinics in 14 states had unlicensed, unqualified, and untrained staff providing patient care. They found expired medications and medical supplies in 77 clinics. There was a failure to adopt, follow, or periodically review internal health and safety protocols in 77 clinics. Failure to properly handle medications. I mean, what? 62 clinics in 16 states. Failure to monitor patient vital signs. 30 clinics in 10 states. I mean, these are serious things. I don't know how anyone can say that people who are going after these clinics are just, a bunch of ideologues who want to shut down abortion rights and shut down access to it. This is serious. We're talking about women's health here.
Protecting women's health and women's lives.
Exactly. And it's horrifying that this is just being passed over. And that the report also documents the women who were victimized by these conditions, such as those who died or were maimed in these clinics, and also this very dangerous thing going on right now called the circuit rider abortionists. And this is happening because there are so few doctors who want to do abortions, and they have just a few who do them, so they call them circuit riders. They go from clinic to clinic performing the abortions. And once they're done for that day or for the abortions, they just leave and go to their next place which means they're not available.
For follow-ups or any emergencies
if they
that
have
might
any
arise?
complications or emergencies, the doctors aren't on the scene. So, I mean, this report is really, really bad. And what they're doing, what they did is release this in advance of the 2017 state legislative session because they want to give lawmakers a tool now for explaining this very critical need for enhanced health and safety standards and to call for further investigations. Because, since this summer, in June, the Supreme Court ruled against some of these safety protections that a law in Texas was trying to enforce. And what AOL is trying to do now is say, no, you got to go back and take a look at this again.
Right.
This is very real, and it's very dangerous what is going on in these clinics. So just because it's safe, just because it's legal, rather, doesn't mean it's safe.
Right.
It is not safe because it's legal. There's a lot of these are legal, these are going on in states. The states are not following up. They're not doing the inspections that they should. We all know that there are some states, Pennsylvania is one of them, this is the home of the House of Horrors and Kermit Gosnell. They are inspecting nail salons more than they inspect abortion clinics.
Oh, well, there you go.
So this is a serious problem. And again, we have a legislator coming up now who is more than likely going to look into these things. They would have been passed over by perhaps the current administration, but not in this one coming up. They're going to be looking at this stuff a lot more seriously.
Well, if you have been praying or doing some sidewalk counseling across a Planned Parenthood or any kind of abortion facility and you've seen any anomalies, give us a call, 1-800-585-9396. That number again is 1-800-585-9396. You can also text us the letters EWTN to the number 55000. That again is text the letters EWTN to 55000. Wait for the response. A text will come back to you, and you can follow the instructions there. Basically, send in your name and a quick question or comment, and data charges may apply if you are texting this number. And we really have to be very aware that there is it's a cloud of smoke darkening everything in front of us when we hear these abortion facilities standing up for the rights of women, and they are not even able to provide the minimum services that they so-call health services, and that is an abortion, which kills the baby inside the mother, and many times can put the life of the mother at great risk and harms her psychologically for the rest of her life. So we stand up for women. We really do protect women here at Women of Grace. 23 minutes past the hour. And our guest is Sue Brinkman, our staff researcher and journalist at womenofgrace.com. She has more about this story, about the abortion clinics are a public health concern at womenofgrace.com. And there is also another story, Sue, that when I read this, I was in outrage. This restaurant owner in Florida found a note that a diner left for him about Christmas music.
Oh, this was really an outrage. It was, but the manager did stand up for himself. It happened down in St. Augustine, Florida, with Michael Lugo, who's the executive chef and manager of a restaurant called Michael's Tasting Room.
Oh.
And he has been in the habit of, since Thanksgiving, playing Christmas music. And by that we mean, Christmas carols and that sort of thing. And what he's doing is he's trying to create this festive spirit among diners, and he's been doing this for a long time. However, this year, a diner came in, and on the back of his receipt, he wrote this note saying Christmas music was offensive. Consider playing holiday music or less religious themed. So the server, of course, showed it to him, and he thought, what is going on in this world? And he went ahead and he posted it on Facebook.
Oh.
And when he posted it on Facebook, he just accompanied it with a very simple comment that just said, really, what's wrong with people? He got, I don't know if you've had a chance to go on that Facebook page. I have a link to it in the article. There were well over 800 comments and dozens of shares, of course. But the majority of them really were rallying to this restaurant manager's defense and saying, hey, you know what? Political correctness is offensive to me, one of them wrote. Please stop. And then, isn't the U.S. supposed to be a free country, another commenter wrote. Play it, hate it, whatever. Who are these people? Merry Christmas to all. And another one said, and I loved what he said. Yeah. He goes, someone is always complaining about something, but as long as we choose to let our light shine on for Jesus, that's what matters. Jesus is the reason for the Christmas season.
Well said.
Yes. So, Lugo has decided that he's going to continue to play his Christmas songs at his establishment. He said it's all about celebration of family, celebration of gathering with friends and people, and it's a tradition. He said it's not about a religion. It's not about anything else. I am a Christian, but I don't push that as my agenda. I think that Christmas is Christmas. And so many of us feel the same. I get so annoyed with the radio stations, at least here in the Philadelphia area. They all start playing, Christmas music, which would be wonderful if they play a carol once in a while, but it's all this jingle bell stuff, jingle bell rock and all. I mean, after a while, it's jingle bell rock ad nauseum. I mean, enough already. Can't you just play Oh Holy Night? Can't we hear just a good Hark the Herald Angels sing once in a while? But they're so afraid of offending somebody. Even though, this is one of the most Catholic areas in the country, but for some reason they just refuse to play that, and they won't play carols. It's got to be holiday stuff. But this guy stood up for himself, and I say, hats off to you, Mr. Lugo.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
if I was in St. Augustine, I'd go to his tasting room, that's for sure.
Yes, and thank you for taking a firm stance. May his business receive plentiful blessings for his firm stance. And Sue, we are beginning to get the concerns from our listeners. Here is a text from Rosa. By the way, you can text in your question or comment for Sue Brinkman by texting the letters EWTN to 55000. And then you get another text back. Follow the instructions, send your name and question real quick, real short, or comment, and be aware that data charges may apply. That again is the letters EWTN to the number 55000. So Rosa texted in her question, and she is asking Sue, what can I do to bring Christ to my neighbors that are non-believers?
That's a very, very good question. I think that we all kind of struggle with that around Christmas time. My suggestion is to make sure that you have in your Christmas decorations a creche out in your front lawn. Put out a nativity scene. That tells people that you know what the reason for the season is. Reminds them of what it is, because they know what it is. They've just chosen not to believe it. Another thing to do also, I say, is to keep your tree and your lights up until after the baptism of the Lord, which is our tradition in our church. I think that the best way to convince your neighbors is to live it yourself. You certainly can't just go around, sticking notes in their door to say, hey, please believe in Jesus. We can't do stuff like that. But what we can do is live our faith out in the open. And they will see it. They will see it, and they will wonder, about the peace and the love that they see coming from us, and wonder, what do they have? Maybe I would want that. And it might take a long time, so we need a lot of patience for this kind of thing. But I would just do whatever I can to let people see my faith around this time of year, which is not hard, because we have a chance to decorate our homes, and we can put out our nativity scenes, and celebrate that. It's a wonderful way to do that, I think, is to spread the message of what Christmas is really all about. And I see so many more people now with nativity scenes on their front lawn, and they're doing that on purpose because they just want people to see this is what it's all about. It's not about Santa Claus and Frosty the Snowman. That's not what this is. This is the birthday of the Savior of the world. And that's what we're celebrating. Who wants to celebrate a snowman? But you can celebrate your salvation. That just doesn't make sense to me, but that's because, we're believers. But, Rosa, if I were you, I would just make sure that you live your faith and do it boldly. Don't try to cram anything down their throats, because that usually doesn't work. And just make sure that they see your faith front and center. And gradually the Lord will work on their souls. And pray, of course, pray that they will receive the grace to cooperate with whatever messages God may want to be sending them through you.
Thank you, Rosa, for that question. How to bring Christ to my neighbors who are non-believers. Great question. And thank you, Sue, very much, our staff researcher and journalist at womenofgrace.com, sharing with us the news stories of the week. upon our return from this break, we are going to be sharing with you some very good news about Best Buy employees who demonstrated the true spirit of Christmas. More to come on Women of Grace. You can call in and ask your questions. Give us your comments. 1-800-585-9396 here on EWTN Radio.
Hello, friends. If there was a program that could help your daughter, granddaughter, niece, or student to come to realize the gift of her femininity and the beautiful reality of who she is in the eyes of God, would you be interested in having her participate? Would you be interested in helping her and other young women to participate in it? I hope the answer is yes, because that program is now available for young women. Women of Grace is delighted to launch our newest Women of Grace study program, Young Women of Grace, Embrace Your Femininity. This beautiful study for girls ages 12 through 17 teaches young women what it means to be a daughter of God, to discern their purpose and mission in the world, and to find true fulfillment without losing their souls. Young Women of Grace presents vital Catholic teaching in a colorful magazine-style workbook that is packed with fun facts, testimonials, and stories of the saints and other Catholic role models. Transform the life of that special young woman and order a copy today. Visit womenofgrace.com or call 800-558-5452. That's womenofgrace.com.
The Spirit of Advent with Father Dominic Legge.
Advent is the season when we prepare for the coming of the Christ child at Christmas. And it's a traditional Christian practice to prepare for any great feast with a season of penance or fasting. We fast before a feast. But here's the problem. When we're preparing for Christmas in Advent, the culture around us is already celebrating. How can we live a penitential season when it seems so festive and we're being invited to all these Christmas parties, for example? Well, here's one very practical tip. Choose a small penance that you can do this Advent to get ready for Christmas. Maybe if you know I'm going to a big Christmas party this evening, you can skip breakfast this morning. Maybe you can add a few extra prayers. Maybe you can make a point of going to visit the Lord in the Blessed Sacrament in the church on the day when you're going to be doing some special celebration. Let's celebrate Christmas well by preparing well at Advent.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
32 minutes past the hour here on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. We're so glad you are joining us this hour on Women of Grace Live with our guest, Sue Brinkman, our staff, a researcher and journalist at womenofgrace.com. Elena Rodriguez here, sitting in for Johnnette Benkovic, who is the hostess of the show. Johnnette has a very bad case of the flu, and she has no voice, so she cannot join us. And in the meantime, she is praying for you, so please continue to pray for her recovery. And, you know, we've all gone through the flu. We know how hard it is. And just be very aware out there. There's a lot of flu virus. Just warm up, bundle up, and take your vitamin C and take care of yourself. Get plenty of sleep. And it's easier said than done. I can preach a lot, Sue, but sometimes I don't follow the best advice.
I know it. It's tough. When you get sick, it is always at the worst possible time when you have so much to do.
Oh, goodness, yes. But
especially at Christmas, a week or so, a little bit more than a week before Christmas.
Yes.
It's tough to be laid up in bed.
Yes. A lot of people working very hard and working even 2 shifts and trying to get through the Christmas season. The Best Buy employees are showing a true Christmas spirit. You have this news story up on womenofgrace.com. Sue, enlighten us with a good, bright-spirited news piece here.
Oh, this is such a happy story. It's a Best Buy in Valley Stream, New York. And apparently a young boy would come in every day and play on their Wii machine. The store just had one there that people could play on for free, and this youngster would come in every day and play on this machine. So this was like after school. So one of the manager at the Best Buy decided that they should get him the Wii. And they all chipped together, a bunch of employees at the store. And it's a $300 game, so it's not cheap.
Yes.
And they just decided to buy him a Wii, and they did. And I have the video on here. It's just so touching when they went to present it to the young boy. He was sitting there playing the Wii at the time.
Had no idea.
And they walked up to them. They said, "Here, this is on behalf of all of us here at Best Buy. We got you this Wii, so you don't have to come here every day to play it." And the boy just sat there looking at him, stunned. He didn't know what to say. And then the worker, he pulls out the receipt and he goes, "No, look, we paid for this. You can walk out of the store with this today." He said, "This is something we did for you. Everyone here that you see, we all got together and we chipped in so you could have it." And he continued to hesitate. Still, the boy said, no, for real. He said, this is for you. It's an early Christmas present. And the boy finally accepted.
Oh, my goodness. This gives me
goosebumps. He finally accepted it. And he took the gift home. And now some viewers of the video, when they posted the video of it, they said, well, maybe he has a bad home life, and that's why he was there at the Best Buy every day. He was trying to avoid going home. But it turns out that the store said, no. He has very loving parents. They just can't afford to buy him such an expensive game.
Sure.
And in fact, the young boy came back the next evening with his parents.
Oh.
Yeah, to the Best Buy store. And he does come in again now occasionally because he says, I like hanging out at the Best Buy. So, he just wants to, I guess, be around people and play with the game. So I just thought it was such a beautiful example of the Christmas spirit. This is what it's all about. They dug into their own pockets. This child was a perfect stranger. But they would see him in there every day playing with the game, and they thought, you know what, let's get him his own game.
Aw, yes.
I just think that's a great story.
That's
I love it.
That's very touching. And also, you know what, I have a feeling that young man, someday when he is all grown up and is able to provide for himself, he will be generous to some other little boy or girl who has no other means of getting a Christmas gift or a nice surprise for a birthday, etc. So generosity, pass it on, definitely.
Yes, absolutely. Play it forward, as they say, and definitely pass that on.
Oh, thank you for sharing that story with us. It really warms up our hearts. 36 minutes past the hour here on Women of Grace with our guest, Sue Brinkman, our staff researcher and journalist at womenofgrace.com, where you can find more about this beautiful story we shared with you, Best Buy employers showing true Christmas spirit, and the video is there when the little boy received his gift on behalf of all those Best Buy employees who were very generous with him. And we continue to talk about the news stories that affect us, both men and women of grace. We have Kay on the line. Kay is listening in Fairfax, Virginia to EWTN Radio. Kay, your question for Sue Brinkman, please go ahead.
Hi, Sue. Thank you. I just wanted to say I was very pleased, and I'm sure everyone is, but it's just awesome to see that we now have a president who has true feelings that he could express from his heart about his despisal of third trimester abortion, and that he would actually speak it out, i.e. the words, the content in his heart came out of his mouth, and that he placed morality above votes. I think that's really a good example for other people in Congress who sometimes falter from that pure stream of truth, and we should just be really thankful, and it would be really nice if all of Christendom recognized their power as voters. In recent elections, evangelical Christians, which includes the Catholics and Pentecostals, basically all of Christendom, only 1/2 of people that were eligible to be registered to vote actually registered, and only half of those, not in this election, the previous, and only half of those registered to vote actually voted. So when you do the numbers, and evangelicals make up 25% of the population, self-identified evangelicals. That doesn't include others who identify as Christians but don't put themselves that designation on phone call surveys. But if everyone who was able to be registered and voted Christian and voted for morality and selected congressmen based on their heart, true felt values, and their histories of how they vote, we would have close to over 60% of the vote in the nation. We could select every city council member, every congressman, if everyone that had the capability that's a Christian to vote actually got out there and voted. And if we formed a voter bloc as a unified body, we would have I would call it the body politic. We could control the level of social decay and bring it to a halt by putting people into Congress. And we need to really work carefully to identify people and put them into city councils, county supervisor roles. Mm-hmm. We have a supervisor in our county, a gentleman who went, Jerry Connolly in Virginia, who went from being county supervisor to congressman to House of Representatives. He was never a state delegate. And he's a very liberal Democrat. And it just goes to show you that that if we try to generate leaders and identify within our own core, you would be a fine congressman. You have a background in statistics and et cetera, and encourage people to get up and run for office. So last of all, I hope to stay in contact. I'm developing a public policy internship called the Washington Public Policy Internship for young Christians coming out of college to get work experience in news analysis and in project administration. I'll contact you later about that. We're looking for applicants. Housing is provided. But the purpose of it is to be able to birth young writers, young journalists, young thinkers, and allow them to get traction, to hold our culture in its, to prevent cultural decay, basically. So I think it's a team sport. We're all in this together, but too many of us, when it's our team to go up to bat, nobody goes up to bat. Everyone sits in the bleachers, and that's the problem we have to fix within our own body politic of Christians. That's all.
Very well said, Kay. I agree with everything that you said. I'm so excited and happy to hear about that work that you're doing. Mm-hmm. Excellent. That's what we need to do is to get the next generation on board. And you know what? They're growing up in this terrible PC environment. And I think that what happened in the last election is people really expressed in many ways the fact that they're sick of it. They're tired of PC. And I'm hoping that some PC is not just going to fall by the wayside, and we're going to stop this nonsense and not allow millions of babies to be slaughtered every year and women's health to be placed in jeopardy over PC politics of abortion. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous that we're doing this, and I think that young people do need to be educated, and I think it's very important, as you said, to vote local. You've got to do that. We can't sit out these interim elections. Don't just go out for the presidential elections. But I will say this: a lot of people were very encouraged by the turnout that occurred in the 2016 election, and the fact that so many people voted who had not voted before. And I think that that's a very good sign that the population is beginning to wake up and beginning to see that, hey, nothing's going to change if I don't do anything. If I just sit here on my duff all day and just complain about it, nothing's going to get done. But if I get out there and I vote, something will really happen. And I really think that there was a movement underfoot, and I hope that movement doesn't die, because the movement is going in favor, seems to be marching in favor of pro-life, pro-traditional values, pro-family. It seems to be moving in that direction, and let's hope that keeps up. Thank you so much, Kay, and thank you for that great work that you're doing.
Bless you.
Bless you too, Kay.
Okay.
God, you are
Bye-bye.
in our prayers.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you very much listening there in Fairfax, Virginia. You can call in too. That's what James did. He called 1-800-585-9396 to be here on the show with us on Women of Grace with our guest, Sue Brinkman. James, what is your question for Sue Brinkman? Go right ahead.
Yes, what are we to do with Obama's announcement, the president's announcement yesterday, that saying that the states are not allowed to essentially defund Planned Parenthood? They're not allowed to withhold funds.
Right, James. Unfortunately for the pro-abortion forces, that rule is doomed because they will be able to repeal it either through a new rulemaking process, or they could initiate a joint resolution of disapproval by the House and the Senate with concurrence by the President, which, of course, we would have, because we have pro-life majorities in both houses of Congress and, of course, now a pro-life President. And even Planned Parenthood seems to understand that this is not going to last. It's a last-ditch effort by them to try to preserve the funding. And really, I think what they're doing is they know it's not going to stand, but what they're doing is they're trying to give Planned Parenthood a little bit of time to figure out what they're going to do when they lose all this money. It could be something like that. They're just trying to, it's a delaying tactic, I think. And what's eventually going to happen is that's just going to be tossed out. But it is going to make it a little bit more difficult up front to just defund them. Now we have to go through this other additional process because we got to get rid of this little nuisance rule that was just enacted yesterday. But I would not despair over it, James. It's doomed, and as I said, even the abortion proponents know that it's doomed, and it's only going to stand for so long, and then it's just going to be repealed. So, or be rescinded, I think is the verbiage that they use for that. I think we're going to make it. We'll make it through, regardless of that. It was sort of like a toothless effort there.
All right.
Thank you very much, James, listening there in Pennsylvania, beautiful state of Pennsylvania. You know, it is coming close to Christmas time. It is Advent, and it's a good reason and time to give religious reminders, holy reminders like Mother Angelica used to call them, and the place to shop for that is the EWTN Religious Catalog. It is your online destination for all kinds of Catholic books, DVDs, rosaries, devotionals, and nice things to give to all ages. I know of a beautiful set of t-shirts in different colors they have that asks the question, who is your hero? And it lists Jesus, the cross, the crucifix, and a bunch of other saints that are great saints. Who is your hero? That's a nice t-shirt to give to the young ones on your list, and also the young at heart as well. Every purchase at the EWTN Religious Catalog goes directly to support the mission of EWTN, and the website is EWTNRC.com. As a matter of fact, if you shop before tomorrow, December the 16th, and you use the code NOEL, promo code NOEL, you can get a free gift with your purchase of a gift with the nuns of Mother Angelica, the Christmas chanting of the nuns, the Poor Clares of Perpetual Adoration at the shrine up in Hansville of the Most Blessed Sacrament, singing Christmas chant. Christmas with the Nuns is the name of the CD, and all you have to do is, with your purchase on or before December 16th, use the promo code NOEL. Now, if you also want to call in your order, I don't think you get the Christmas offer there with a promo code NOEL, but you can still order if you don't like to do it online. You can still order through the number 1-800-854-6316. That number again is 1-800-854-6316 to get your Christmas shopping done there with the EWTN Religious Catalog. And you can call in with your questions for Sue Brinkman, 1-800-585-9396 here on Women of Grace. Sue, I'm looking at one of the news stories that you have on womenofgrace.com. Texas AG scolds school on Christmas stands.
Yeah, this is another big win for Christmas. I love this story. This was a middle school, Patterson Middle School in Killeen, Texas, where the school nurse decided to put up a poster on her door that featured a scene from the tree. Alongside that tree, she had the inscription, "For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord." That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown. This is what Linus is saying to him. She had those words on there. And even though everybody loved it, the students and the faculty, the principal said to her, "Nope, you're going to have to remove that reference to Jesus or remove the entire poster because that's a violation of the separation of church and state." And the teacher decided, there's no way I'm removing that reference to Jesus. I would rather remove the whole thing than just remove that. So she took down the entire poster. She told her father about it, and it turns out her father is the pastor of a church. And that pastor got a hold of Fox News' Todd Starnes. Todd Starnes wrote a column about it, and the next thing you know, the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, sees the column and decides, hey, wait a minute, they can't do this. They have a Merry Christmas law in the state of Texas that was passed in 2013, which stipulates that no school official can silence any kind of a biblical reference to Christmas. So he let that school district know, you need to stop violating the law. It's not the teacher who violated the law, it's you. And he said, we passed that law precisely because of this type of discrimination against people of faith. So that was a big win for our Christmas, for the real reason for the season. And he just sort of scolded them and said, you can't do that kind of stuff anymore. That's a violation of the law. And he called on the school board of Killeen to immediately reverse that unlawful decision, which of course they did. And that school board actually has been very faith-friendly. Like they went back to, instead of calling their Christmas vacation Christmas break, they were calling it winter break for a while. Well, they decided to go back to calling it Christmas break again.
Break.
Yeah, so they And they also are refusing to go along with the Dear Colleague letter from the Department of Education to open their bathrooms to people of the opposite gender. So they have been pretty good, and the Attorney General fully expects that they're not going to do anything wrong. They're not going to continue to violate the law, and that this whole situation is going to be resolved very, very shortly. So it looks like that Charlie Brown poster is going back up on the nurse's door. And the principal learned something.
Sure.
That, you can't do that. You can't censor that kind of speech inside of your school. I mean, the law says that the school can't advocate for a certain religion, but you can't stop children from handing out, little Christmas, candy canes with Bible verses on it. You can't stop that. That's what Christmas is all about. So, thankfully, the state of Texas has a Merry Christmas law, and I certainly would like to see that Merry Christmas law
in
be
more
national.
States. Yes.
I think that would be wonderful.
Yes, a federal law. Yes. Yeah, me too. Let's pray for that. And in taking a firm stance on our faith in wherever we are, in a school setting, in a workplace, we want to do it with as much kindness, compassion, and generosity as we can, because we also want to set a good example. We're not fighting you because we don't like you, because you don't have a pretty face. We're really taking a firm stance because of what we believe. Well, we want to love you as well, even if you don't agree with us, but we want to love you as well. And that's a great example here in this Texas school with the district attorney. And you can call in to talk to Sue Brinkman, 1-800-585-9396. That number again is 1-800-585-9396 to talk to Sue Brinkman. We are discussing the news stories of the week. And I want to ask you to stay tuned, because we have a special, upon the conclusion of Women of Grace, we have a special show with Take Two with Debbie and Jerry. They are going to be talking about a very interesting topic. It's called My Spouse is Leaving Me, and also a chance to encourage one another and support one another. That's coming up at 12 p.m. Eastern right here on EWTN Radio. Sue Brinkman, with your stories on womenofgrace.com, we want to thank you for your effort to keep us updated on what's going on around the world. And I see you have a story with a positive news here. Macy's defunds Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, they have decided that they're not going to give them money anymore, and they have pulled the plug on all funding for Planned Parenthood, it's a big deal, because Macy's was funding them for quite a while, and as I was saying earlier in the show, they got away from them as a result of these films that were made last year, the videos that were taken of their trafficking in fetal body parts. That really was a turnoff to a lot of people. And you just had so many of these big corporations saying, we don't want anything to do with this. And they were one of them. Macy's just decided they were going to do it, and they've gone along with Coca-Cola and Ford and Xerox and AT&T. They've all done that. It's an organization called Second Vote. That's the number 2 ND Vote. And if you go to our website and click on that story, you can get onto their website, and that shows you who exactly is funding that Planned Parenthood directly and who is funding them indirectly. So you can see what corporations are sending money to the abortion giant. So it's important, though, that we try not to, if we can anyway, avoid doing business with some of these places, but let them know that. I always say to people, write them a letter and let them know, I'm not going to buy Coke, or not, well, not for Coke, but let's say Pepsi, because maybe they're still funding them, or whatever corporation might be on that list, and to say to them, I'm not going to be using your product anymore because you support Planned Parenthood. It's very important to let them know why you're not buying their product, because otherwise they just see you as a couple dollars missing.
Right. And they don't know why, and the important thing is to say why.
Right, and you might also want to send a letter to Coke and Ford and Xerox and AT&T and Macy's and say thank you for not doing that anymore. I'm going to make it a point now to shop at your store to buy your product.
And what is that website where you can find out which organizations? Again, can you repeat
It's called Second Vote.
Second Vote.
Number 2 NDVOTE. All one word, Second Vote. And they can get at that right on if they link into our article Macy's Defunds Planned Parenthood. There is a link in there. Let me see if I can pull that up for us, and I can read it to you real quick.
Sure. Well, we are at the end of the show, Sue. Time is our worst enemy. I want to thank you very much.
It's just secondvote.com.
Secondvote.com. Very good. We're recommending that. And thank you so much, Sue, for all your hard work and research.
Thanks for having me.
And we want to wish you a very blessed Advent and a wonderful, joyful Christmas. Thank you again,
same
Sue.
To you.
I sent you a hug. This is Women of Grace saying bye-bye for now, but more of EWTN Radio continues with Take Two with Debbie and Jerry. Make sure to stay tuned. That's coming up in about 5 minutes. This is Elena Rodriguez wishing you a very blessed Advent and reminding you to pray for Johnnette Benkovic. She'll be back soon here on Women of Grace. Stay tuned for more.